All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bold Expressions. Today I have my aunt with me, Aunt Theresa. If you would introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, my name is Theresa Stephanie, and I'm Carl's auntie. His mother's my youngest sister, Cassandra Wales.
All right. And I've been meaning to have her on for a while. As I said, I've wanted to get some other family members on as well. You've heard my cousins, my mom, my sisters. But I know you had a job with the government. It makes it sound like something else. But you had a government job. Would you mind explaining to the people what you did?
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Cut out for a second. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I worked for USDA, Department of Agriculture. I worked for rural development, rural areas. I was an accountant. I worked in appropriation, and like I said, I worked under the rural development. We worked with communities and things like that. We when the disasters came, we helped with the states, supply them money. Like when Katrina, they had problems with Katrina and stuff. We appropriated funds to Washington D.C. Under a lot of loan project programs. Like I said, I did mostly my stuff with rural development, and I did a lot of stuff in the rural department. But we did stuff with like communication, and we did a lot of things with farmers. We used to deal with a lot of farmers, and then they turned around and broke us up and put that with farmers, which was the same thing, but they only did appropriations for farmers, and we did it for, like I said, rural areas and stuff. So that's what I did. I did a lot of appropriation stuff, money, and reported all the money for all the states, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. I was responsible for a lot of them. I was responsible getting the reports out, letting them know how much money that was distributed to their state down to the district, because the state may have more than, could be state of Mississippi, and they have about 5 or 6 districts. They can have 10 districts, and I was responsible for going all the way down to the districts and the counties, letting them know how much money they appropriated. And like I said, it was all kind of money. I mean, single family housing money, like I said, community money, building a bridge, building a water tower, things like that.
Okay. What was something, I didn't realize that you were over like all the states. I thought, you just mostly deal with local. So what was something that you learned? I would say something that you learned. Oh, what was a misconception that you had when you started the job that you learned further on?
Well, I was grateful to have the job, and the way I got the job was through a program where they was looking for internships working in accounting. And what they wanted you to do to at least have 24 hours of accounting. But at the same time, you didn't have to have the 24 hours accounting. They will hire you, and you work for 6 months for them, and then you go to school for 6 months. And then after you get your 24 hours, you will get into the program of accounting. And I think the lowest level you could go down is a 5. But you can work yourself all the way up to 11, which was good money. And I liked it and everything. But then when I got into it and I found out that they changed the script on us and wanted us to have a 4-year degree. And what really upsetted me about that was the people of color was going to school, and we was getting our 4-year degree or our master's degree. And the first thing about it is we had associate. I had associate degree. So I had more than 24 hours accounting because I got my degree in accounting. But to get another promotion, they told me I had to go back to school. So then I went back to school, and a lot of us went back to school, and I got my master's degree. Well, that was good, and I got some promotion. But then when it went to a higher it was really weird call because they flipped it on us. They said we started getting promotions, and then they flipped it on us, and the Caucasians, they turned around and started getting higher positions, and they changed and said that it went for experience. But at first, that's what we thought. As long as you had experience, well, we found out they didn't want to go back to school. So they turned around and flipped it and gave them more experience, which of course they gave them more experience. If you got more experience, guess what happens? So that kind of knocked us down, but we kept on pursuing and pursuing. And a lot of us became working for Washington, D.C. as SESs and stuff like that. But it was just the idea you thought that you work hard, you go to school, you do your best, and you find out, and you thinking you're working for the government, you think they fair, and you find out they really not fair. It's not really for you. They're not fair to us. And they keep it quiet, but it's not. So I was really shocked in that a little bit, but not too shocked, but I was shocked.
About around what year was it that you started?
I started in, let me see, 81. I'll never forget. I started New Year's Eve. I started December the 31st, 1981. I left there in December the 2nd, 1929. 1930. Let me see. No, it would have been 30 years. So it would have been 11. I left in 11. I left December the 2nd, 2011. And if I stayed 28 more days, I would have had 30 years. Wow. 29 more days, I would have had 30 years. But I left. Everybody always says, how long was you there? I was there 29 years, 11 months, and 2 days.
What made you leave?
They offered us a buyout, and I was ready to get out because I didn't like what was going on. I had a supervisor who, she was from another country, and she was from another state. We considered a state, Puerto Rico, and she did not like me. And it's because something happened in the past, and she was the type of person that said she forgive, but she didn't. And she started really bashing me and saying my work wasn't good enough. And all the supervisors I had, my work was good. I always got an excellent performance, but with her, that's the first time I ever got not a good performance. And I went to the doctor, and my doctor told me my blood pressure was going up too much. Then I became a pre-diabetic, which I wasn't a diabetic, but my blood pressure was going up. And he made some sense. He said, do you want to give him all your good years, and at the end you don't have no good years? And he said, you got too much stress on you, and if you can go, you should go. And I decided I was going to leave, and I went home, and I asked him to do the paperwork. But it was so funny, Carl. I knew it was God. I'm sorry, I knew it was God's way, because we was on vacation. We was off. I'm never gonna forget it, for Columbus Day. That first Monday in October, when Columbus Day hit. And when I came back to work the next day, which was Tuesday, I opened up all my emails, and it was an offer from the government offering us a buyout. And I said, what? And I already put in for me to get my retirement. And I said, and I called and said, I'm taking this. And my friend of mine, she showed me how to not fax. It was another way I had to send it to them, to the government. And she took me over there, and I took it to them, and I politely signed asked to be to go out. And that's what I did. I went out. And this December will be 10 years. The best 10 years. I thought I was nervous. I said, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm used to this kind. But like I said, I have not suffer for nothing. Anything I want to do, I still can do it. And I know it ain't nothing but the grace of God. Because, honey, I'm enjoying my retirement.
So what I was going to ask. Okay, now you said that initially you did compensation and adjustments for starting off rural areas, and then they switched it to just farmers.
Yeah,
Did you notice?
Go ahead.
I know you said you saw how they did you all starting off when you first got the jobs. Did you notice any discrepancies or anything like that as far as how the money was being compensated after you started?
Oh yeah. When they took because like I said, we was rural development, and we deal with everything, and we deal with the rural development. Well, what happened was they split us and made farmers, just farmers, farmers, FH, I think it was FSA or something like administration, Farmer Service Administration. And they had a big lawsuit by the black farmers. um, the black farmers, they was not appropriating and giving them the right amount of money like they gave the white farmers. And a lot of the black farmers lost they land that they had in their family. I'm telling you, Carl, it was back there. It's like the land they had, their great grandfather had it probably when they was a slave, and they worked for it and they got it land, and it went from generation to generation. And a lot of them they lost all their farm. They finally won the suit, but I feel like really they didn't win because they gave them the money back. They gave them the money that they sued, but they still didn't get their land back.
And people don't understand how important land is.
Right.
Whenever I talk to people, Juanita and I was watching this show. I can't remember what station it was, but whatever. But it was about some wealthy people who lived, I want to say, up near the Hamptons. Upstate New York, very high end people, and there was like a black neighborhood there, and most of them had a conversation. They was like, and we want to keep it black. We want to keep it black. So they kept their land and they would just rent the homes to people. So that way they keep the land. As everybody who listens, you can hear my co-host Daniel in the background.
That's okay. Hi, Daniel.
but then there was this one group, one couple that was trying to sell it, and it was just like, why would you sell that why would you sell that property? It's like that's money. That's something that you can keep. That's how you as people, talked about, that's how you not just get rich, that's how you build wealth. Having land, having that property, and especially coming from slaves, having your own land it meant a lot. So I agree with you. Yeah, it's one thing to get the money, but did you get the money? But the thing that you wanted, you don't have anymore.
Right, and the land, and a lot of the land went to a big like Monsanto, and I wouldn't eat nothing they grow. I'm sorry, and the farmers, if you think about, like they said, the food don't come from the farmers like we used to know. Food come from like a corporation, and they produce and they use any kind of they use any kind of fertilizer, because too many of us they calling vegetables back. I was growing up, I don't remember nobody ever calling vegetables back. And and then even in the neighborhoods you live in, you got subdivisions, and then you got the laws that they don't want you even have a garden. They don't want you to have a garden, grow anything. And it's like, this is my land. Why can't I grow what I want to? But it's some of them like, and it's in your backyard or whatever. That's your property. And I just look at that and I'm like, wow. It's like they want us to hurdle us and want us to just make and eat and do what they want. And when you say no, they have a problem with it. But like I said, yeah, it was discrimination, and they proved them. That's why they had to wind up paying these black farmers all this, I mean, it was billions of dollars because they was discriminated. And I'm not trying to be funny. I could kind of tell they were discriminating because when you start looking at how much overage they'll pay a farmer or how much they'll pay somebody, you be like, wait a minute. And then later on you find out that they was a Caucasian and they was a black farmer, or you go in and you could be getting behind on your payment. They make arrangements with the white farmers, but they wouldn't make it with the black, or they give them an ultimatum and ultimatum, excuse me. And then what happens is it gets worse and worse, and the debt get bigger, 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 and they can't make the payment. So they will apply for a loan, and all of a sudden they don't have the money. All of a sudden their credit is bad. All of a sudden, but you can have they could be the same people with the same credit score, but they'll give it to the Caucasian, but wouldn't give it to the farmers, the black farmers. So yeah, but like I said, yes, it took years. I'm talking about years before they got that, and but they lost their land. They can't even buy the land back because it's so expensive, and they ain't gonna give it to them because somebody else got it. So yeah, land is very, very, very important. And the more and more I looked, and the more and more I research and stuff, I found out how they have took so much land from people of color. Because I just said people of color because it's not just us. I mean, I always think about how they took from the Native American, and then I think the Native American got real smart when they started building casinos on their reservation. Because one thing about that, nobody can go on. You cannot. They got their own police force. They got their own everything. You are not allowed to be on their land. I mean, if they have a crime, they will find out what happened. And I like the idea of that. And I know they don't like it. And if you think about how they was trying to use the oil, we think about that belongs to the Native American. And how they was trying to take the oil, when we had Trump in the White House, and how they was protesting. That was their land. That's their oil. Why you want their oil? So you see a lot of discrimination when it comes to land, and when you own property, and how they treat one side and how they treat the other side.
Speaking of land, and as Native American, or as they say, indigenous people, I want to say they technically own the land that Mount Rushmore is on. Right. So that was something to where, as Dr. King said, America defaulted on one of its many promises, or many of the things that supposed to have done, and there's like actual documentation that just like, yes, this does belong to them, and they defaulted on their promise and took it back or whatever illegally. Right. But yeah, I want to say I saw something on Roland Martin's show, something about Black farmers are still having problems with the government, or yes, with something about it was something about grain, something about some grain, right, or something they bought that they charged the Black farmers, I want to say higher. It was either they charged them higher, or the quality of the grain was not as good. And of course, they sued, and then you have some of these politicians, and you have all these people who constantly want to argue that nothing is about race, and it's about this, and this. But then when you pull up the receipts, it's just like, okay, well, the Caucasian people, they got it for cheaper, or their thing is doing better. But all the people of color just so happen that, as you say, their land gets taken. They're not getting the same access. And a lot of there's this one guy, he talks about, people want, they want the same outcome. It's just like, no, we just want you to stop messing with us. Right. It's like, we just want whatever you got, whatever opportunities you got, we want that same opportunity. And what happens afterwards happens. But right, if we have the same opportunity, then you step in and then you give an advantage to this person, then that's not fair. So why is it? And it's always a thing of once once we start demanding stuff that we're owed, they want to call it entitlement.
Right.
Or, just basic things, they want to call it entitlement. They'll give corporations, people making billions of dollars a year, tax breaks, and they're not doing anything with it but buying another jet they don't need, or buying something frivolous. But, something simple like, putting more into schools or SNAP or something, it's just like, oh, we don't want these people to be entitled. And there's always somebody who got something trying to tell somebody else, just like, well, we don't want them to feel entitled. It's like, aren't you entitled? But
I know,
yeah,
and I know what you're saying, because when you think about it, I listened to the news was on, and they was talking about the St. Louis, Missouri. What's the best school and to go to in high school, and it was Ladue, and I think number 2 was Clayton. Then it was Parkway, Southwest, and all that. And I looked at it, and it's all where? West County.
Yeah.
Out there with Chesterfield and all that. And you think about it, and then they want to say something about our kids and stuff. But if you look at how the education, if they treat all the kids the same with education and give them all the same opportunity, I think it'd be better. But the reason they won't is because, and I don't care what nobody said, they scared of us. Because as people, we are some smart people. We just, like you said, every time you try to rise, it's like they always trying to put you down or knock you back down, and we keep rising and rising. And if you look at it, the younger generation, they are doing so much more when it comes to not working like a 9 to 5 job. They try to find their own way of making a living without depending on a corporation or something.
Right.
And then you go to work, like me, you go to work every day and you do your job, but you got a boss who want to micromanage you or want to put you down and then expect you to come in every day and smile and take it. And the younger people are not doing it. And I understand it, and I do respect, because they keep saying, oh, they lazy. No. I do not think they lazy. I think that they want something better. And what their parents took, they're not going to take. They're not going to take a lot of that stuff. And a lot of, they say, I read today, they said how many millions of people done quit a job called, they're not on work. They said they tired of the bosses, the way they treat them, how they want the policies that they got to go by and all that. And then one of the biggest things is they don't seem like they appreciate it. Now,
right.
That's bad. You can't say you did a good job. You can't say, I'm glad you work for me. But they feel like, well, I pay you. No. Some things you pay me 9 to 5, and I'm going to do my job. But then you want me to jump and go over and do more and more and more. And then you don't even say thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I do hear at Garda, they have a thing, and people working overtime, and they would have a thing. It's like, well, some people are not working overtime, and they were saying it as if it's a negative thing. But there are some people who, I set these up as my hours for a reason, because these are the hours I can work. If you want me to work over and I can't work over, I'm not going to, and you're not going to make me feel bad for not being able to, and especially not wanting to work over. Like, right. If I'm already working all that I can and I got other stuff on the side, I don't need to explain to you why I can't work here. And I think a lot of times people, and that mentality of, oh, that they're lazy because they don't want to do this. It's like, no, it wasn't good then. And I think that this pandemic has exposed a lot of things. The fact that a lot of people need so much assistance for being out of jobs, and it's a thing of, this is not something that just popped up. This was always an issue. It's just that They always, once again, the people who have something never thought it was an issue because they have something. So it was something they just kicked down. It was a can that just kicked down the road to deal with before. And then when they have stuff like, raising the minimum wage, it's crazy that people who get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year who take vacations when there are laws and other things that need to be voted on right now, but Congress or whatever is in session, and it's just like you calling us lazy, but yet every time there's something people need this assistance now, and y'all on vacation. It's
Right.
like we barely see you out there anyway, and when you are, you're doing some backbiting, some bickering, whatever, and the people that actually need assistance. And the funny thing is, and the thing that I always try to remind people, they work for us.
Right.
Every 2 or 4 years, they come out and beg us to hire them. They spend millions of dollars to be like, hey, I think I'll do a good job. Give me the opportunity to do this job. That's basically all they're saying. And they've gotten to the point to where they think that this job means that they can lord over us. It's just like, no, we put you here. And so now we demand that you do the things that benefit us. That's like you hiring a barber or hairdresser and they mess your hair up and you're like, what's up with this? And they say, well, I'm the whatever, so I'm just going to give you whatever. You wouldn't put up with that if you hired somebody, you wouldn't take that attitude from anything else. If you hire a professional chef, a professional cook to come in and they were going against your best interests, you wouldn't take that. So, but they think we're supposed to take it because they have this idea that there are betters for some reason. But and you are right that a lot of younger people are finding avenues. There's this guy whose community I'm in. His name is it's funny. His name is Kevin on Stage. He was recently on Roland Martin, but I've been following him for some years and part of his community. He has his own app, the Kevin on Stage app, to where he has shows that he has produced. Comedy during the pandemic, he had Keep Your Distance comedy specials like every two weeks. There would be him, a bunch of other comedians that he knew. Every couple Fridays, they would have a set. It was in LA. They would have a socially distanced crowd. Comedians would come. They would send a link. You have to buy tickets, and you just watch it virtually. And he thought to do that after watching, I think Dave Chappelle had a little something that he had, and so he started that. And he has an app to where he's writing a bunch of shows and he's doing a bunch of things. He's in the middle of producing a show to where he's like, there was a white executive or white producer who said, a black person can do this show, or a black person can do this. He's like, why are we bothering to wait for them to give us stuff? He's like, when we could just go ahead and do it ourselves. And there's so many, they're having YouTube channels. They're, trying to do what I'm trying to do, or actually doing what I'm trying to do. They have podcasts. They have all these different avenues, and especially you see it now on TikTok. And you see a thing with that TikTok, black people doing things with TikTok, and even you see it there. Mm-hmm. Black content creators. There's this one guy, I want to say Jason Banks. His video that he did got flagged, but yet a white content creator took his audio and did their own little sketch around it and just acted out, just mouthed it. And TikTok promoted that. But they censored or flagged the original content creator. And he's like, No, but it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, so, and then you're seeing it more. I know some people are going after TikTok more, and some people just did a thing to where they're calling them out more. Like I want to say last month, I want to say it was either Tuesday or I think a Tuesday or Wednesday. There was a day to where they called it a blackout day, to where no, or I think it was on Twitch too. There was no black content creators that created for that particular platform, because they said if you're not going to respect this, oh no, it was the dancers. It was black dancers doing the dance, creating, the content, and then, other Caucasian people, taking them and doing whatever, and they're getting pushed. And so black people just pull back and just be like, now let's see what you got. Well, we're not here. Well, we're not giving you this. Let's see how well you perform without us feeding into this. And,
Wow.
and yeah, like you said, it's like, trying to come up with other streams of revenue and other things to where I'm my own boss. I'm going to do what I want to. But even then, you have certain people certain companies and certain things that try to, do certain things a certain way. And then that does push them into, it's like, I'm going to have my own, I'm going to grind until I'm in a position to where you can't do this without me. And I think that's the important thing, is to make yourself invaluable to whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
So that it's like, well, we can just take it and do it without you. Just like, but without me, there is nothing.
Right.
And sorry, I'm going on a rant, but you were exactly right as far as like I'm saying, or get back to what I'm saying about the jobs. People are tired of, as you said, coming into work, not feeling appreciated, and more importantly, not getting paid enough.
Right.
It's like, they had saw a commercial, or oh, it wasn't a commercial, but it was a thing about, there was this woman, and a lot of people for a minute, they were throughout the argument. It's like, well, minimum wage. It's like, well, these are all jobs that teenagers have. It's just like, no, a lot of these jobs are, people working overnight, which you can't do if you're a teenager, or they were jobs that there was this woman working for McDonald's. She was a freaking store manager. And she was like, don't believe the hype where they're talking about McDonald's doing this for people. Like, no, there's only the corporate McDonald's. It's like, y'all don't know that most of the McDonald's you go to is not corporate. It's a franchise. The majority of McDonald's that you see are franchises. Right. And she's like, I'm a store manager, yet I can't afford, if I'm sick, I cannot financially afford to take off of work because of how it negatively would affect my check. You have grown people working.
That's what I'm saying. She don't have leave. She don't have sick leave or nothing like that.
Right.
And I think that's crazy, because I feel like if you got some employee to work, and I think that's why if you think about it too, a lot of times I realize that's why they cut the hours to not 40 hours. Some people don't work 40 hours. And that's a way that they don't have to pay some benefits. Or if they do, they hire because they don't work 40 hours. It's like they always know how to get over, and you trying to get back, you trying to survive, but it's always the way they try to keep you down. And I think that's really ridiculous, because if it wasn't for the people to come in there and they take their order, you wouldn't have a store. Nobody would be there.
Right.
And then I've seen a lot. I mean, I read on Facebook or whatever, a lot of people had to close. I remember they said one, I forgot what state it was, Michigan or something. One Dunkin' Donut had to close that whole day, a couple of days, because they didn't have enough people to work. So the ones that had to work, they had to close for them to get some rest, because there was all them coming in working 7 days a week. How many hours? They had it wasn't nobody to, okay, you come in from 7 to 7 and you get off, then somebody come in from 7 to 7. Some of those people work there at 7 in the morning and they work till late that night. And if they close, because mostly, I know mostly it's not that too many 24 hours Dunkin' Donuts. So I figure they close like 9 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock, maybe 10. So if you got a crew and they come in, you got 1 or 2 people, and they come in and somebody works 7 in the morning, and they supposed to get off maybe 3:30, and they ask you to work to 7 at night. That's 12 hours, and and just think about that. And then they might close at 8 o'clock. Well, you have work when you're at the store. When you close, what do? You have to clean up, don't you? So that means you're not getting off when they close that door. When you see that door that says y'all close, rulers close at 8 o'clock, yeah, y'all close at 8 o'clock, but y'all got to clean the floors. You got to do this, you got to do that to be ready for the next morning. So it's not like the stores you look and say, oh, the store open at 8 in the morning and close at 8 at night. That's 12 hours. No, 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 no. The store don't even open up at 8. People coming in at 7 or 5 for they can be ready for you at 8. So when you think about that, you don't have enough people to cover. And they actually had to close the store. They let the people that was working there get some rest. Now that's bad.
And also, and I say this in my job, they say so and so should be enough time. It's like, okay, even as you say for, close the store, you have to clean it. And then you have to go home. And sometimes even if you're tired, when you get home, you kind of have a little bit of a kick. So you can't just wind down as much as you want to. And then you still have to try to eat. You still have to, take a shower or do whatever it is that you probably have to do at home. So you're still probably up maybe an hour or so. You can't, just go to sleep like that.
Or wind down.
Right. Or even if you don't get to do whatever family thing, after a while that starts to get with you because you're just like, I'm spending, as your doctor told you, I'm giving all my time to this job and I have no time for family. I have no time for anything else except for getting up and coming to this job. And then if you have one minor slip up, I'm not talking about something major or whatever, but minor slip up, they want to hold that against you. They want to, oh, you should have known better. You should, it's like, but it's like, I'm tired. I'm drained. And, and as you said, well, like, well, we're paying you. It's just like, okay, it's like, but it's when they use language like that, that's when you feel even more that they don't appreciate you.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's like, I can understand that you pay me. It's like, it was a phrase Jay-Z said to Trump when Trump tried to talk about something stupid. It's hard to keep track of all the stupid things that came out of his mouth. He was like, treat me nice. He's like, treat me bad, pay me nice. And as you said, it's like some people just get tired of, whatever. Some people just don't. It's like whatever little bit I'm getting paid is not worth whatever disrespect or does not offset whatever else is happening. And as I pointed out, a lot of times, whatever you're being paid is not enough to compensate anyway, because you're getting paid, yet if there's something happens, the study I heard is like most people cannot handle a $600 emergency.
That's true.
Like you do all this overtime. If something happens and it's over, like, hell, just about $200 or $300, you're just like, you up here, especially depending on, get your foot off the bowl, especially depending on, what pay week it is, whatever, you're struggling to try to accommodate to that.
Right.
And then once again, you have the people who have something who are just like, well, what if it's like, well, all you need to do, people who have never been in your position and probably never will be in your position, trying to tell you how to handle it. And it's always some super simple, it's like that's, when people brought up Mitt Romney being out of touch, he was talking to a bunch of college students, and it's just like, we can't afford college. He's like, well, why don't you just ask your parents for the money? And it's just like, if it was that easy for me just to ask my parents for the money, don't you think I would have did that first? And it's just a issue of not having the resources or the funds, and also not having people who can even comprehend what you're going through.
And then some of them that been through it in a way, and it's a shame because the older I have got, I done seen some of us, we've been through it, and they act like they done forgot. They know what it's like from paycheck to paycheck. They know what it's like when this, but then they the first one to say, well, I don't, and you look at them like, excuse me, or why they live like, excuse me? It's like, it's okay that, like I tell a lot of people, I remember when I was working on my job, this white man worked there, and he was a racist. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I think he came a little bit better. And I'll never forget, we was doing something, and he was talking about welfare, and he said all Black women do is have babies and be on welfare. And
one of those talking points.
And I said, excuse me, what do you mean? He said, I saw Black women do is have babies and be on welfare. I said, excuse me. I said, I had a baby out of wedlock at 17. I was on welfare. No, Theresa, you different. I said, wait a minute. What you mean I'm different? I'm Black. I was on welfare and I had a baby out of wedlock. Well, you went to school and you got your education. I said, it's a lot of parents, a lot of Black women went to school and got their education, and you don't know, you might be sitting right to next one. I said, I use welfare. Yes, I used it. I said, and I used it. It helped take care of my kids. It bought my food. And I said, as soon as I got a good job, I was off of welfare. I said, welfare was for temporary. I said, but, and I went on and told her, so I'm going to tell you something. Do you know when welfare became? Welfare became when the Depression, he looked at me, I said, white women was getting welfare. I said, and their husband could stay in the house with them. When Black women had to get on welfare, the Black men couldn't stay in the house with them. I got through talking to him. He looked at me. He didn't say nothing else. Well, he didn't say nothing else about around me. And later on, he would start talking to me and this and this and that. And he came and apologized to Theresa. I'm sorry. I said, yes, you should watch what you say. You should say some people. Oh, I said, because baby, if I have a friend who worked for the welfare office, and I can tell you, it's more white women that have children and is on welfare. So don't you ever say it's more Black. How can it be more Black when it's more y'all? And after that, he shut up. But I do know what you're saying. People always conceive us as a certain way, and if we don't take up for ourselves or we don't say nothing, a lot of times they just keep on doing. But at the end, he came to me, he apologized, and me and him, we became good friends until I retired. But he just heard certain things, and he around his friends, and he believed it. But when he sat up there and called and said, "You different," how can I be different, Carl? He said Black women had kept kids, unwed kids, on welfare. Well, I'm Black. I'm a woman. I had my child out of wedlock. So you should watch what you say. And after that, he stopped looking at us like that. And I think it was because of me, because he saw me working hard and he saw me getting promotions and stuff. And he realized that, yeah, I had a kid out of wedlock. Yeah, I was on welfare, but that's a lot. All women ain't like that.
Right. And we know what, and I think that's the funny thing. A lot of times, they never understand how that's an insult. oh, you're one of the good ones, or you're different. It's like, how am I different? And it's
Thank you.
and it's another thing to where it's always you always want to avoid getting into the habit of this group does this. Okay, how many people do you actually know from said group? How many people do you actually, and how many people from that group actually talk to you? Because you would have, you know, you've seen it. You'll have a lot of Caucasian people who would say something about, you know, oh, they have black friends and they blah 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 blah, or you know, and I don't hear about so and so with them, and it's just like, so it's like, just because they don't talk to you about certain issues doesn't mean that it's not something that they talk about.
Right.
Or just, they a lot of times we don't talk about stuff like that with white people because it's like, it's one of those things like, I don't feel like getting to this. I don't feel like having this conversation. Number one, because it's going to turn into a whole big thing and I just want to vent, or I don't feel like, or it comes one of those points where like, I don't feel like losing my friend because I may find out that you're, more ignorant than,
right.
I initially thought, because and they stay pushing that thing of, oh, well, like Reagan, they hold Reagan up, but it's like, oh, welfare babies. This is like, what did Ronald Reagan know about welfare queens or whatever?
Right.
It's like what even before he became president, he was an actor, he was a movie star. Tell me your experience with these welfare queens.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you and once again you get into that discrepancy of, and the thing that Black people are always and I've noticed growing up is always the thing we're afraid of. Anytime you see on the news something happen, you have that collective, that tightening. It's just like, please don't be Black, please don't be Black, please don't be Black.
Yes, yes.
Because if it's a Black person doing anything ignorant, that colors everybody.
All of us. If they put us all in one apple and one bird, right. But then they'll tell us that's not me. I'm not like. But wait a minute, you always trying to put me in that other bird.
Right.
So you Theresa, that ain't. But see, and you're just like, when a white person do something, why is it always mental illness or something like that? And right. And a Black person, same thing. And they are hoodlum or whatever, and they could be proven they have mental illness, but they are hoodlum,
Right. And or look at this, or they will try their best, even with something like Trayvon Martin. He had an empty bag of weed, and it's like, how many movies have there been older white people smoking weed and it was hilarious, or all these TV shows, and it's thing like, okay, even if he had it was an imp. Oh, he's with friends, he's throwing up gang signs. It's just like, no, that's just what Black people, especially Black men, we don't know what to do with our hands, so we're just doing whatever, taking pictures. And yet they will have legit terrorists, like, that word that they want to throw on every brown person when they see something. You have all these white people making pipe bombs and doing all this other stuff, and they will go through whatever lengths to prevent, to keep from calling them that T word. We had he's fine, but they're used to it. You had an event earlier this year to where hundreds of people, probably thousands, but I know hundreds of people stormed our nation's capital, which hadn't happened since
the Tea Party.
They didn't even make it there during the Civil War.
No.
They stormed the Capitol, assaulted multiple police officers, killed one. A couple of them committed suicide afterwards because of everything they've been through.
Right, and think about it. They supposed to care about blue lives, but they did what they did to the policemen.
Right. The blue lives matter until it's focused on them. Blue lives matter, but well, I'll get in that in a second. One of the terrorists who broke in with the intentions of whatever you're upset with, it was closed door, so mean you couldn't just walk in where you were anyway. It was barricaded. She came in, she got shot. There have been black and brown people get shot in their homes for less. And they made more excuse for this woman than they will for us.
And they
all this,
try to sue the officer.
Right.
And he's been getting threats and everything.
Right. But yet we will get shot in the back. Oh, they shouldn't have ran. They should have complied. These people beat officers. And as you said, it's all blue lives matter until one of those people wearing the blue is black. And they're talking about the things that they went through, the struggles, and all of a sudden, oh, they're crisis actors. Oh, they weren't that tough if they couldn't handle all of this. And it's just like, if you can go through what they went through with absolutely no issues, either one, you were one of the people who were helping them come in, and so you didn't have to deal with what they went through, or two, you're unstable in some way, and I don't want you anywhere near a badge and a gun.
Thank you.
If you can just mentally just shut out all that, then I'm worried about your ability to make decisions that require some non-robotic, just black or white response.
Right.
But yeah, you constantly see that they were terrorists, they stormed the Capitol, all of a sudden, oh, they're just patriots, they're just whatever. And then they try to compare it to, everything all of a sudden is Black Lives Matter or an Antifa thing. People ain't even heard of Antifa. So most of them don't even know what it means. They just say it, from certain things. And not saying any looting or whatever that happened was right. Like I did an episode to where there was this retired police officer or captain, whatever, that lost his life here in St. Louis because the people tried to break into this jewelry store. And I was like, that's not right.
Right.
And anybody who's involved in those protests would say, we're not talking about violence. We're not for looting or doing all this other stuff. But yet they still want to latch, once again, they still want to latch the few days, because it wasn't all the time, the few days that it got violent, they want to latch that onto everybody in the whole, even if it was the police that started, being violent, as we see, them, aggressively pulling people out the cars. They pushed that old white man down for no reason. He started bleeding out his ear. It's just like, we've seen them be overly aggressive, yet anything in the aftermath they want to put on us.
So true. So true.
And, and that's always been, I guess, our struggle trying to, what's the word? And I guess it's in twofold. Number one, trying to not fall into, for some Black people, is to not fall into that stereotype of being the angry Black person. Like I'm a big guy. If there's a situation that happens in the public, and even in general, I try my best not to. In my head, I already know it's just like, okay, you're a big guy. So there's a certain level of anger, there's a certain level of calm you have to have at all times, because they already look at people much smaller than you as a threat.
Yeah.
So for you, you have to, keep it calm, and then you have the others who just say, no, why should I have to? Why should your misinterpretations about who I am dictate how I act?
Right.
And I'm seeing more and more of that, and people are just like, your impressions of me is not my responsibility. How, if I'm saying something to you and it is a calm or whatever way, how you take it is on you. It is not my place. It's not my responsibility to dictate or police how you feel. Like you,
Hold on, hold on.
okay, go ahead. Okay, but what was it saying? Oh, about people,
It's big.
right?
People, some people say,
Yeah, basically whatever other people think is not their responsibility. Um, and I read something funny. I want to say it was last year. Now, one of the things that I've tried to do more with my show is express my geek side. And so I had plenty of episodes on here talking about different superhero things, movies, and whatnot. You were also a fan of the comic book movies and different things.
yes.
And I remember reading an article about the X-Men. And it was funny because the author had a point of the, you okay? Had made a point of, as they said, I guess in their views, the flaw in Professor X's plan of, as mutants, we want to show humans that we're not a threat, show people that, you know, we are heroes like everybody else in the Marvel universe. We are heroes. We're not all of us a threat. Those people are bad, but they're bad people. They are not a representative of us as a whole. And you know, everybody knows that, or should know, as people who nowadays want to say, "Oh, when did everything become so woke?" And it's like it's been woke. Like the whole basis of the X-Men and other heroes were, you know, discrimination or whatever, even though they use all white people. But, you know, at the time, all the creators were white. So, you know, we were lucky enough to get Black Panther.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
And it was
like,
another.
right.
It was another one. I gotta remember here. I gotta figure out who he was. Me and Floyd talked about him. It was another one.
But and so their argument was that it's actually, and in a way it's Black people, because you know that's the way it was originally related, that is actually a detriment to try to come and say, hey, look at me doing this good things. Hey, accept us. We deserve to be accepted based off this thing. And they said, why is it that you have to prove yourself initially in order to be accepted? Why is it that you can't just be accepted just off the basis of I'm a human as you are, or, you know, whatever. And just that same thing, you know, trying so hard to prove, hey, you know, we're one of the good people or whatever, instead of just saying the same way in which you accepted this other person without any with you know, just on the merit of them being a person, I want that same for me. Yeah. And I thought that was the interesting thing. It's just like, yeah, you know, they're fighting to do this, and it is a thing just like, yeah, well, why should they have to? It's just like us, like, why should we have to prove to be the good one? Why should we have to? It's just like a lot of Black people over tip because some Black people don't tip.
Right.
It's just like, why do I have to? Why am I spending my money trying to make up for somebody I don't even know?
Right. Yeah.
And that's it's funny how that mentality has been put in us to try to compensate for other people, but yet you would see that, you know, others don't do the same.
They don't. They don't. And you're right. Think about all the other nationalities are here. I mean, the Iranians, the Indians. They but what neighborhood are they in? What they make their money off of?
All
And
right.
then they have the right to be discriminating against us, don't like us, don't want to live in our neighborhood, but your business is in our neighborhood. And you can always tell the difference. Okay, when you go to Quick Trip, okay, Quick Trip sell liquor, Quick Trip serve things, but when you go to uh uh what you call it, a, a mobile that they own or whatever, they have other stuff that relates to us.
Right.
I don't do it, but I know that we do.
Right.
And you look at that and you say, but they want our money, but they don't want to be having nothing to do with us until we give them their money. It's green, and they don't have nothing else to do with it. I always think about the man who called on Michael Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He was not black. That's not a black-owned store.
Right.
And at first they broadcast, and at first they didn't want to go in there and stuff, but you didn't stay long enough. If you did long enough, he was gone. But he's not gone. Y'all still giving y'all money, and y'all know what he did. That concept, and like you said, it's like a slave mentality. It's like you think you can't do, but yes, you can. You can't stop. Yes, you may. I don't go to black beauty shops, a black hair. You know they cost more. Yes, they cost more because the Asian people that is all these beauty shops they got, they order by bulk and bulk and bulk, and then they send their stuff out to the stores. So it's going to be cheaper. The same with the ones that do your nails. They buy all that stuff and they give it out. It goes to the stores. So when you are black owned and you order stuff, if you can buy 1,000 and pay only 50 cents, and I can only order 10, and I gotta pay $2. Yes, I'm gonna have to go up on my price up, but I don't understand how we don't understand that. And I look at that and I'm like, wow, it's so weird. Like you say, we the only ones, and I'm kind of guilty to that, call. I do give more than because I have friends who I got people who got waitress and they happen to be Caucasians and they hate to see us, and some of them hate to see that they got to wait on us. And another thing is, I've been at a place and sat at a table with for my friends, and I have a problem when you got a waiter, and I'm speaking for me, my people, because they can say I'm lying or whatever. Why do we run in the deal? I want more water. I want more bread. And you look at them. And then you don't want to even give them a decent tip.
Right.
Well, I know. And I'm like, why do y'all do that? And like, well, that's what, no. That's no. They here to serve you, but they not here to be your slave. You know. And
I always take that excuse. With that's, I'm just giving something to do. It's like they're already being paid to be here. You don't need to lump on extra. Like if they're good, then compensate them for doing that. But then that also goes back to I've heard things from people from other countries that go whatever. Like you go over to the UK, whatever, they think it's an insult if you try to tip them. It's like, because no, we pay our people decently enough. We don't undercut their pay and then say you have to compensate them for what we're not paying them.
Yep. No, and that's true. And that's like when I went to Jamaica and stayed there, and I stayed at the resort. And I didn't know, I wanted some coffee so bad. You know, your auntie and her coffee. Yeah. And they coffee, I can only get coffee for a lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then they closed the place up. And they didn't have a coffee. They didn't have a coffee pot in the hotel. And in my room, I don't know, I almost went nuts. So one day I wanted some coffee. I wanted some coffee so bad. So I went downstairs and they was getting ready for breakfast. And the young man, this is how bad it was. They had to find something to put coffee in for me because they had just regular coffee cups and stuff, but they found something for me to take upstairs in my room. And I remember I had the money on me. I didn't know how much it was, and I was giving him a tip. He said, no, you don't have to give me a tip. Well, I didn't realize when I paid for the bed at the resort, all that was paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. It was like, no,
Right.
And I said, oh, and you're right. It's so different because they pay them so good. And they don't expect. That's why they really go beyond you when you treat you, because they get paid real good. And they watching them, and they don't want nobody complaining about them because that can hurt them or they can get fired. But you're right. And I really believe that. And I used to kind of be like that. And I stopped being like, because I started thinking, I said, wait a minute, just they act like that. That ain't me. I don't want, that's on them. And like if you with somebody and they acting stupid and they have to be black and you sitting there, you feel so embarrassed. I used to feel, but then one day I got older. I said, wait a minute, that's them. That's not me. Now, don't put me with them. That's them,
Right.
But you kind of feel, but I had to get ready. Like, I got to explain myself to me about that. That's not me,
Right.
So I do know what you said. And then since you was talking about X-Men and all them, because on Avengers and all them, I'm so crazy about them.
Yeah.
What do you think about Superman? They're gonna make Superman.
Okay, that's it.
See,
Are you talking about the two movies?
No. I'm talking about the comic book.
Okay. A friend showed me that the other day, and I've talked to some of my other friends about this. Who's going to be bisexual is his son, John Kent.
Okay.
And the thing with that is that with comic book stuff, he's been around for I want to say less than 5 years. Mm-hmm. He's a fairly new character. He had a series with and y'all, everybody who knows I'm geeky, deal with it. He had a series with Batman's son, Damian. It was a comic called Super Sons. It was critically, financially, people really enjoyed it. People liked it because John, was hopeful. He was cheery. And then you had the more serious, Robin with Batman's son. And it was a concept of Batman and Superman being like basically forcing their sons to hang out with each other because they knew that just like they did, that they can learn something from each other and that they would be better because of it. And, they became friends or whatever. Through some chicanery and much to the chagrin of a lot of people who enjoy that book, it was canceled because a new writer came onto Superman and he had a certain vision, and his vision pretty much messed up everything that everybody had been enjoying up until that point. Lois went away for a minute, and his son John left with his dad, and through some stuff, he came back to Earth, and he was like, when he left, he was like 10 or 11. When he came back, he was like 17 or 18. He was like 16 or 17, around that age. So a lot of people missed a lot of those years that, a character would have growing up, the few characters that they do allow to age. There's only a few of them that actually do get older. So before that, his quote unquote sexual life or his sexuality wasn't something that you got to see about anyway because he was so young.
Right.
And then it's also a thing of like, it's something that just started off. I initially was kind of like, but I'm not reading it anyway. So it's just like, I don't care. It's not really doing anything for me. Have at it as long as the stories are good. there was a character that they had that recently came out, which was another Robin. And I was irritated about that for a completely different set of reasons than what other people were irritated by. Number one, I was irritated by how they came out. They just said Robin is gay. And number one, I was just like, well, he's bi because he's had several girlfriends in the past.
Sure had.
And my other thing was just like, they're not even really telling you until later on which Robin it is. Because in most of the articles I saw, they had a picture of Robin, but it was of the Dick Grayson Robin, the first one. And most people don't know that. Most people don't know there's been 4, technically 5.
Several Robins.
Yeah, there was Dick Grayson, the first one.
Yeah.
Jason Todd, the one who got killed. Tim Drake, he's what they would consider the smartest one. There was a female Robin for a hot second, and then and then there's the current Robin, Damien. The third one, Tim Drake, he's the one that recently came by. And my only issue is that recently they've had some shakeups to where his character was already kind of marginalized. He's a really good character. I have several books with him in it. He's very smart. Of all the Robins that they have, supposedly like each Robin kind of has an aspect of Bruce with them. He's more the detective. He is the one that they said he's the smartest. He's the more logical or analytic one. When they had some, reboot and stuff, DC likes to reboot and restart their history a lot. When it came back, initially they was like, okay, when this new history, he's never been a Robin. Then it's like, well, that sucks. So yeah, he has been a Robin. And then he had his own identity. Then they took that back, and then they did so much stuff back and forth with him when they was just like, oh, well, he's bi now. To me, I was frustrated because it's just like, it seems like nobody really knows what to do with him since y'all start messing stuff up, and it seemed like something that they just did just because.
Okay.
And it's like when they do that, it's irritating because it's like there's other characters who are gay that you can tell stories about. There are established gay characters that you can tell stories about, and I should go forward with those because he doesn't even have a book. So, so there was that. And then I was irritated about a lot of people who was upset about it because a lot of them were making stupid arguments against it. They didn't have a thing of like, well, this is like, it doesn't really fit. It's like, it didn't really fit his character. But then going by, it was several things. Number one, it didn't really fit his character because he was like in a relationship up until that point with a woman. And she's like, well, what happened with he was dating this girl? It's like, so what happened with that? And then it was a thing of, I think he revealed his identity to the person he was going to date. And I was just like, that's another thing that didn't seem in character with that person. It's like all throughout his history, it's like, you wear a mask for a reason. Now you're dating this person, and y'all hadn't even, or no, they weren't even dating yet. It was the first date, and he, somehow exposed who he was, whatever. But it was just a different, whatever. But as I'm saying, there were some people who, number one, they didn't know who the character was, and two, they had stupid arguments or they had reasons that they were saying that to me was a mask of what they were really feeling or what they didn't want to say. There's this one person that kept saying, well, I don't know why these cartoon characters have to be sexualized anyway. And I want to be, first of all, if it's a comic, not a cartoon. Secondly, have you seen any of them? It's like, first of all, have you seen any female superheroes costume?
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like all those are sexualized. I was like, and if you want to get specific, cartoons being sexualized, Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Betty Boop.
Oh yes.
Popeye and Olive Oil. Superman and Lois have always been a thing. It's like so. It's always been a thing in cartoons or comic books to where it's a thing. It's a thing that at some point they are sexualized or somebody's in some type of relationship.
Well, if you think about it, really, look at Wonder Woman. Look at hey, look at Xena.
Right.
The woman. Come on.
And
that was in the 90s. Shoot. I mean, that outfit she had on. Shoot. So I know what you're saying. Is Lois and Superman coming back on?
The new show that recently came up. Yes, they have been. You can bring back here. Yeah, they got renewed for a season 2, and I really like this show. I
do too. And his son. Boy, sometimes I'm gonna beat the hell out of his son, but I mean, he trying to find himself. I do understand.
Right, and I like that because unfortunately the movies didn't give us the Superman that people were looking for.
Right. And did you like the Titans?
I've been watching it. Auntie.
I'm waiting to see if they're gonna bring the second season back.
They got a third season out right now.
Oh yeah, the third, because we just started. We were looking at it, and I didn't know what it was about. Then when I started looking, I'm like, wait a minute, they kind of on the bad side. I mean, they're not really. You know what I mean?
Right. It's their DC is trying so hard not to be like Marvel that they're going too far over to where it's like they're overly dark and gritty, and it's just like not every property can do that dark and gritty thing. And then it's the thing of like if you do it too much, then if you go too dark and gritty, then when you do bring the more comic book aspects of it, it looks silly. If they're so dark and gritty and real, and then you have these people in these colorful costumes, they come off looking stupid. It's like, so you can't go too far into that because you end up, there is supposed to be some type of levity to it. It's like, there are supposed to be heroes. As I was talking to with a friend of mine, right. I like the show enough. Like I'm getting through the third season. I've gotten to the first few episodes of the third season. I like it. There's a lot of things I think could be better. Like you can definitely kind of feel the budget at sometimes. I do not like the person they have playing Batman. It's like every time I look at him, I'm just like, there is no way that you are Batman. And it's just like he just doesn't fit to me. Hey, sit down. You still there? Okay, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about. I was wondering, was they bringing Lois and Batman back? I mean, Superman back. I really kind of like. It make me. They more human. You know what I'm saying. And he just want his kids to have a better chance in a way to me. But that other one, boy, when he get upset, boy, he need to learn to control himself.
Right. I like that in regards of, I think it highlights what a lot of people complain about Superman, or to me, this proves what a lot of people that's like, oh, well, he's too strong, he's too blah, 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 blah. And my thing is always like, because you haven't seen anything to where he's actually written well, to where you actually see him as a person or whatever, not just somebody who's strong enough to do anything they want to. It's like,
when I was growing up, when I was growing up, I was looking for the telephone booth where you can change clothes. I looked at Superman on one of those old channels. I forgot what it was, and it was so funny. I said, I used to be crazy about this. You be like, and then when he flying in the air, you like, but then it started getting bad. I think the best Superman I liked mostly was Man of Steel when they brought that one out. I think that was it, Man of Steel. I like that one better. It was mostly more. He was more. I don't know. He was like more on the human side. It was more. I just liked it more better.
Yeah, I like them. I don't know why DC is not. It seems like they're going out of their way not to do anything else with Henry Cavill as that character. And I'm also sad. It seems like after Man of Steel, it seems like Zack Snyder, the other stuff he had him in, where he directed him in, he lost whatever humanity he had in that first Man of Steel movie. He's all distant. Yeah. He's just, it's just like, that's not Superman. Like, Superman's supposed to make people feel hopeful. He's supposed to have a certain thing to him. And even if it's supposed to be him learning how to do that, you never even saw an inkling of that.
Yeah, because I didn't like him with Batman and Superman when he died.
I've had many minutes going off about that movie on this channel, on my show. So many issues I've had with that. But I know you have Bible study to get ready to, so I would definitely have to get you back so I can talk about all those with you. But I thank you, Auntie, for coming on here and talking with me and spending time with me. As I tell all my guests, I appreciate you giving up your time, because time is so important. You could be doing anything with your time, but you chose to do this here with me. And you can never get your time back. So the fact that you chose to do this, really appreciate it. If people wanted to find you somewhere, where would they be able to find you at? Oh, did she have some issues again?
You mean like where am I? Well,
yeah, like social media. Like if anybody wanted to reach out to you on social media, where would they find you at?
Theresa Brown on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at on Facebook. Oh yeah, and I'm on Cherish the Body Wellness. That's another one. That's my my Young Living thing. But yeah, that's me too. But mostly Theresa Brown. That's where I mostly talk to people at.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Bold Expressions. That is BLD Expressions. Once again, that's on Twitter and Instagram at Bold Expressions, BLD Expressions. You can also email me for any things, interaction, whatever, on my Gmail, boldexpressions4@gmail.com. Once again, that's boldexpressions4@gmail.com. You can also find clips and other behind the scene things and my much shorter series, Random Thoughts, on my YouTube page, Bold Expressions Podcast. So yeah, and if you want to listen to this, you can find this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts can be found. Once again, thank you to my guests. The podcast is an audio show. It's a podcast. It is what's the best way to describe it? Is basically, think about like a show that somebody would have, like Steve Harvey and Ricky Smiley. The show that they would have, take out the music, and it's just them talking.
Talking about podcast.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is my podcast. Yeah.
Okay. You mean like Roland Martin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So appreciate my guests. Appreciate to all my people who are listening, who support me. I appreciate it greatly. Please like, share, subscribe. Have a good day, good morning, good evening, whenever you listen or watch this. And as always, don't be so busy proving your point that you forget your purpose.